This man is a co-founder of 35 Ventures, and the Boardroom. You could see him with Kevin Durant on ESPN Plus. It's a fun show for you to watch right there. He is Rich Kleiman. How are you, Rich?
I'm doing all right, day by day. How are you guys doing?
I am doing fine. Where are you? Are you calling in from New York City right now? Is that where you are located? Where are you located?
Well, I live in New York City, but I was able to get out of the city.
Right.
So I'm outside of the city, but not far.
Okay. Well,
and I'm just watching and trying to understand what's going on in the world like everyone else.
Okay. Let me ask you about your client, Kevin Durant. How's he feeling? What's going on with him?
He's good. He's out of isolation. He's been cleared. He was fortunate to be symptom-free throughout the whole process, so that was a blessing. But he's just like the rest of us, quarantined now in kind of regular isolation. So, but the scary part is past.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that. Has there been any contact tracing? Could he have gotten it in any way, shape, or form when the NBA was active, Rich?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean, I think it's like too hard to even figure out. I know there was other net players that tested positive, but I think that especially being in New York City and not even knowing how long it could be like dormant in your system before it gets tested or shows a symptom, and in Kevin's case never had a symptom, it's probably too hard to even figure out.
Okay. If you don't mind, before we get into some other stuff with you, just the business of the NBA, do you think, as you and I are sitting here, Rich, that we're going to see games for the 2019-2020 NBA season in any way, shape, or form? What are you hearing? What are you thinking?
I am thinking no, and I don't know. I understand, I saw Mark Cuban on TV this morning, and I understand the thought process behind thinking that this could be such an important distraction.
Of course.
And I understand that thought process to a degree, because in every other time in our life, we always thought of sports as like the ultimate distraction from something tragic. But this is ongoing, and this is unknown. And when you hear Dr. Fauci talk about the numbers that he's projecting, it's hard to think that this is salvageable, and it's hard to think that like some makeshift season will do the trick. And I know there's so much money at stake, and I'll leave that to the NBA PA and to the NBA. But in terms of just getting the NBA back in motion, it feels so hard to understand or wrap your head around right now.
Rich Kleiman here on the Rich Eisen Show, and one of your client, Kevin Durant, is one of the few players that's going to have 90% of his annual salary paid out by today in this check that arrives today. And I know you mentioned that the NBA and the NBA Players Association, the NBPA, is discussing this. Do you think that there will be 25% of players' remaining salaries placed in the league escrow? That there is going to be some sort of force majeure? What are you thinking right now, Rich Kleiman? I'm
thinking that I don't know. I mean, again, I think we're fortunate. I was fortunate, and Kevin's fortunate to not be in that category. But I think that another thing I saw Mark Cuban say this morning that was interesting, which is hard for people to kind of sympathize with, is that these owners have so many other businesses that may be leveraged and bankrupt at this time. But I think in general, especially when the idea of people talking about how at all costs to bring these players back, to think that in the interim, though, we'd be reducing their salaries, and that, the Kevins and the LeBrons, those guys are anomalies. There's players that maybe not in the position to have something like that happen to them. It'd be unfortunate, but it's clearly the sign of the times right now, and I could see something like that happening. I truly could.
And would that? I mean, what sort of a situation do you think that would create? Would that be what would be the adjective you'd use to describe
it? That would be unfortunate, to be honest with you. I mean, I think that there would have to be other ways around that in the short term right now, especially, like I said, when you hear such deep conversation about how to get these guys back on the court. And, a lot of times we forget the emotional side of it from players' standpoint, and the psychological effect of, like, they're at home with their families too, scared like the rest of us, watching this in real time on the news. And yes, there is something great about normalcy and getting back to it, and we all have to work in some way, shape, or form now as well. So, it's challenging, but it's not as easy as just like quarantining players and getting them back on the court to perform during the summer as entertainment and distraction. Like, I don't know how long this will go on for. None of us do, So I don't know. It's a tricky one, but I think that I would hope that at all costs we could keep that from happening.
Of course, Rich Kleiman, the co-founder of 35 Ventures, and you can watch him and his client Kevin Durant on the Boardroom on ESPN Plus, which we'll talk about in a second, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. So, what advice, if Adam Silver's door is open, and how do you think the NBA should proceed right now, Rich?
I don't know. I don't have that answer. I honestly don't, and I think that's probably why Adam's door is open and he's listening to the different owners and players and the union reps. I mean, it's a tricky one because when there's such fluid information in the world, it's not like there's any true word from any government official, obviously, but I do know that the players are stepping up as they always do, and you see it on social media,
right.
You see it on traditional media, that more so than any other group of people, it seems to me that NBA players have such a good pulse on the world a lot of times and are able to kind of step up and be a voice of calm and give back always. And, a lot of times you see it. You see them talking about it. But there's a handful of players that don't feel the same need to always talk about it, that are quick to activate in their community and give back in any way they can. So I think the power of the NBA and the power of the NBA superstars and players is something that's important right now. And maybe if the season can't come back on, there's some way that these media companies that have so much money committed to the NBA and the players themselves can come together to use that platform to continue to give back during this time, because it's hard to imagine the season happening. It just is.
I hear you, man. I mean, and you're a New Yorker just like me, and so you know who Marbury is clearly, and not just being a New Yorker, but you're an executive producer on a film for Marbury called A Kid from Coney Island. Couldn't help but notice that he is trying to bring some much-needed surgical masks and PPE to the New York healthcare system. What can you tell me about Stephon and how he's working with that and everything else in your relationship with him, Rich?
Yeah, I spoke to him this morning just to kind of confirm with him that he was so right. I mean, I remember sitting with him and Kevin a few days before the premiere of the movie in Brooklyn. This was maybe the March 1st or 2nd. He was just talking about how little we were talking about the realities of this virus, and he was so aware of what was going on in China and had so much information. It was telling us stuff that even a month ago we were looking at him like, man, that doesn't happen over here, like a month ago.
Right.
And I had to text him today, and I saw that someone in his family had passed away. I think it was
his cousin
or something,
yeah.
and I wanted to reach out to him and also just to congratulate him again on what he was trying to do in sending these masks back. He's an incredible dude, man. He's so misunderstood, and I think I grew up in New York. I was a senior in high school when he was a senior at Lincoln. I followed him all through high school. Any New Yorker kind of held him in a different category than anyone else we kind of knew at that point in basketball, and he was already like a star to us. And when I had an opportunity to work in this movie, and Kevin had an opportunity to work in this movie, it was a no-brainer. His story is incredible. You could have ended it before China, and the movie was incredible. And then to think that he went over there and created this whole world for himself, and people that fell in love with him there. There's museums built in his name, and a musical that was performed in his name. I mean, it's incredible. And now he's really trying to come back, and in the biggest time of crisis, he has this platform that he created in China to help, and it's pretty amazing. And it's amazing timing that his movie's coming out now. I think it comes out next week, the 7th. It'll be on Apple. He's just remarkable, and the story's remarkable. You'll love it.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing that. I'm from Staten Island, so I would always drive past Coney Island to visit my my mother's parents, my grandparents on my mother's side. So I know all about Coney Island, all about the area. I know all about the Belt Parkway. I know all about that area. And you're right, Marbury was a star well before the rest of the country even knew about him. Rich.
Oh yeah. I can't believe you're from Staten Island. You don't meet people from Staten Island very often.
What do you mean? Well, hold on a second. I mean, you don't have out of borough bias, Rich, do you?
No.
Okay.
It's actually out of borough fascination. I don't even know anyone from Staten Island.
We exist.
The mob wives are from Staten Island. I remember that show.
Rich, me, the Wu-Tang Clan, Alyssa Milano. The list can go on and on here. Ricky Schroeder. Yeah. Okay. I mean, we
Inspect the Deck and Rich Eisen.
We expect. Yes, Rich. Yes.
That's my man right there.
You know what? I mean, put us all on a Boardroom episode and watch us fly. Okay, that's all I'm saying. You can watch us. We'll take you to. It'll be ESPN plus that particular episode. Okay.
Love it.
When did you first meet Durant? How did you cross paths with Kevin, Rich?
I met him his rookie year. I had a mutual friend who I was working with in the music business, artist by the name of Wale, who said that he was coming in to see a Jay-Z concert. He knew I was going, and Kevin was just coming in with his brother, so he wanted to know if I wanted to go with him. And we met, kind of hit it off. We were 10 years apart in age, and we just kind of kept in touch and talked basketball. And I was always sports junkie first, wanted to be in the sports business, but just took an unconventional route into it. So when I finally had an opportunity to start working in sports, and then it was at the right time for him making a change in his career, it was just like we had built up that trust and that friendship. So it was kind of seamless and to start working together.
What's the most misunderstood aspect to him that you want people to know about Kevin? What do you got for me, Rich, on that front?
I don't know if I want them to know, but to answer, I guess that he doesn't people never believe me. He really doesn't care about the things that people give him a hard time for caring about. It's just more, the same way that there's things that you talk about on air during the day, and it's part of your job. And,
right.
It's entertaining, but do you care? Do you hold it too close to your heart? No. And it's like when he responds and communicates with people, I think, I said this the other day, it's way more a reflection of the time we're in than, when people comment on the fact that he's just way too sensitive. I think that's how he engages. And, I think people have learned to actually love it. And it's just kind of part of the fabric of, like, what the players and athletes and celebrities do now on social media. He just was doing it first.
Well, I haven't crossed paths with him too many times, but I just remember as I'm walking around the turf of Super Bowl 50, and I'm like, there's somebody in a photographer's vest who's really, really tall.
Yeah.
And it was Kevin. Kevin took photographs of Super Bowl 50. Like, that's part of his, I guess, outside of basketball loves, right? His photography and things like that.
Yeah, it was at the time. I think, like, it's not that it's not that rampant in his life, but he's just somebody that, like, challenges himself a lot, which is helpful with our business that we've built. And, the ideas that he has, he always challenges people to want to try to bring them to fruition. And I think he was into photography, and we kind of found, like, an incredible outlet for it. And that was one of those, like, experiences where I almost felt like afterwards it was like, okay, I'm done with photography because I just shot in the sidelines in the end zone for the Super Bowl. So it's like, what do I do now?
That's right. You kind of reach that sports pinnacle, right, when you're shooting Super Bowl 50. That's pretty much it, right?
I mean, that was remarkable. And, and it was funny because after people had kind of gotten over it for a second, we're all going back to watching the Super Bowl because it's a Super Bowl. And then you, like, glance over every so often, and it's like he's still in the end zone sitting there shooting, like laying down next to the rest of the photographers. It was kind of amazing to watch.
Well, I look forward to seeing Kevin back out there, man. I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I just remembered, you and I don't think we've ever met face to face, but I just saw your face on the screen when Kevin's injury took place during the NBA Finals. And I could just see on your face that this is serious, and I wonder what that moment was like, Rich. That must have really just been quite a moment for you and your guy together. That night.
I mean, before that, the energy in the stadium was. I don't know if you were at the game.
I was not
on TV, but the energy in the stadium was incredible, and it was. It kind of felt like. Daniel LaRusso was going to fight, like Karate Kid. Like he was,
nice.
Like the energy was insane, man.
Well
it was
done.
Incredible. And did you know that reference?
Come on, man. Did I know the reference? I mean,
I just want to make sure. I didn't hear anything
but you're not seeing me. I was painting a fence, Rich, when you said it. Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, I got you. Oh yeah, I got you. Keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your flow.
It was incredible. So, and he. Like, I think everyone saw it. Like, he just seemed bigger than life when he was out there in those first 8 minutes and, like, hitting a few of those shots. And it just seemed like we were about to watch something on another level. And to have it go from one emotion to the other so quickly, to be somebody that, like, on a personal level I cared about, and then to think about how much he put into making his decision to do it and to play, and just all of those emotions, like, at that moment, I think I honestly walked right onto the court, like no regard for the security rules, just like kind of walk right off the court, kind of trailing behind him. And, it was just like on a personal level then. But it quickly changed because his attitude about it and his resilience and his kind of ability to think about it in the big picture and to think like, okay, this is awful. Like, this is awful, but I did what I wanted to do. I'm going to find the blessing in this. And he did. He has all year in terms of, like, his approach to rehab and his approach to being a leader within the team and the organization. I think everyone's seen him on the sidelines for most of these home games. And, he took the challenge on. And so it was like no time to sit there and really wallow about it.
And look, man, again, we're from the same. Where are you from originally? Like, what's your hometown?
Manhattan.
Manhattan. Okay, no wonder you feel that way about Staten Island. You send us your garbage. You send us your garbage. We'll take it in. I understand. So put it all together. Your client is at the forefront of a seismic change in the basketball world in that city. I mean, nobody ever thought about the Nets when they were out in New Jersey, when they were out in Long Island, maybe Dr. J, right? Now this is a seismic change potentially in the New York basketball scene because your client, along with Kyrie, chose the Nets. Rich, you're aware of that, right?
I did find out about that.
Now, when it all comes down to it, though, Rich, did he ever twitch in the direction of Madison Square Garden? Did it ever come close? Did that ever happen?
I don't know, honestly. Well, no, I don't think so because I think that it's hard. Like, I think the first free agency, it was definitely more of one of those processes where we ended up renting this house in the Hamptons. It was ridiculous.
I heard of that.
It was such a kind of like for someone like me who wanted to be around the NBA but gave up his like dreams of playing so early on to be in a room and have like he come in and Greg Popovich come in and Steve Kerr come in and all the players come in and Tom Brady come in. It was insane. And I think Kevin really was so connected to OKC but wanted to really look at all the different options and chose the best option for him in his game and always relies and leans back on, if I do what's best for me, the basketball player, the rest will work out. And that's hard for people to believe. So in this case, he knows where I'm from. He knows I was a Knicks fan growing up. He knows the teams that have cap space. But he's such a locked-in competitor that, like, to sit there and go back and forth with the scenarios at 30 years old when he knew the league so well, he knew everything. And as our business has evolved and we make decisions and bigger levels and bigger things with our whole company, I knew how his thought process was going to be. So it wasn't like, what kind of odds do we have or who can he come in to pitch you? It was just like, let me know, like, here's the info you need, but I know you're doing this your own. I know you talk to the people you need to talk to. You know what it is to play. And it was, I said this all the time about it had more to do with the Nets and less to do with any other teams. And people wanted to make it Knicks versus Nets. It was just the Nets. They were the right opportunity, and they were in New York. And there was another team in New York who was much more fanfare. So I get it all, but that's just not how his kind of mind works when he's making decisions.
Sounds like an episode of The Boardroom. Love the show, man. Looks like you're enjoying it too, Rich.
I do enjoy it. And we're launching our podcast soon. We launched a newsletter. We're starting to do some live events. We did a live boardroom at Sloan Conference right before the whole world shut down.
Right.
And, really trying to create this sports business platform that is more geared towards fans. The Sports Business Journal has always been much more of an industry trade, and this is something that really gives you like a look into the realities of the sports business now and the conversations that are happening and the deals that are being made and the entrepreneurs within the business and the speed and energy of the business and the culture around sports. So it's been exciting, and there's a lot coming, and we're trying to stay very active and give a real kind of voice to these athletes and different entrepreneurs during this time as well. And it's cool. I'm excited. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, everybody check it out on ESPN Plus, The Boardroom with Kevin Durant and
on the Boardroom.tv. We have our own distribution.
Oh, pardon me.
And on the Boardroom.tv. Boardroom.tv. That houses all the information, all the episodes, the ones on ESPN and the ones that we put out directly to consumers.
That's I want you to get the platform that you need, Rich. Boardroom.tv. Look, I feel like
I'm not going to not say it.
No. I love it. I want to make sure I got this thing straightened out because I feel like we grew up together. I really do. I feel like maybe we went to summer camp together or something like that. That's what it kind of feels like to me.
Where'd you go to camp?
I went to Camp Loconda and Trails End Camp. Where'd you go?
I didn't go there, but I mean, don't take this the wrong way.
Great setup. Go for it. What?
I think you may be a little older than me, right? Just because I know when I was a kid.
I'm 50. How old are you?
TV, and I wasn't.
How old are you?
43.
God bless you. I am older than you.
What are you, 46?
No, I'm 50.
No.
Yeah. Yes. Staten Island takes away 4 years, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, got it.
It's the beauty
you ever meet any of the mob wives?
I did not, but I did go to school with one of Sammy the Bull Gravano's members of his family. We all knew.
Karen?
No, I do not. But Karen, was that a Goodfellas reference? Did you drop one right there?
That's like a double entendre. No, his daughter's name is actually Karen Gravano from the Mob Wives.
There you go.
Mob Wives, yep.
Okay, very good. Hey, Rich, love the chat. Let's do this more often, okay? Let's do this more often.
Love to. Appreciate it, guys.
Right
Stay
back at
safe and healthy.
You too. That's Rich Kleiman right here, the co-founder of 35 Ventures.
That was great.
Boardroom.tv. Boardroom.tv.
The Boardroom TV.
The Boardroom.tv. The Boardroom.tv.